Welcome to Roaming with Restless Women, real talk with wise, dynamic women leaders. I'm Julie Noonan, your host, CEO, and founder of Intuitive Wisdom Coaching, and I'm living my dream life. I live and work in my RV, coaching senior women leaders as they navigate corporate politics, family drama, and personal goals to live their own dream lives. These women are restless. They are never done seeking new opportunities, learning, and ways to create value in the world. If you'd like to apply to be a guest, stick around to the end of the show and I'll let you know how. So let's go. Ready. Hi, and welcome back to Roaming with Restless Women. This episode is going to be incredibly awesome and special. Cheryl Stelte is a spiritual coach. She's a master healer, a speaker, best-selling author of 3 books, and the CEO and founder of the Star of Divine Light Institute and the Azarius Energy Healing Certification Program. I hope I said that right. I should have
You
asked
sure
you
did.
before. Okay. As an energy healing and empowerment expert, Cheryl helps mature women who know they're meant for more but feel blocked gain the clarity that they need that they long for and step into their true, authentically powerful selves, enabling them to live their lives with high-level purpose. With over 30 years of experience and extensive training in numerous healing modalities, spiritual leadership, coaching, retreat guiding, shamanism, yoga, and meditation, Cheryl finds nothing more rewarding than helping women safely break through their subconscious blocks when nothing else has worked as profoundly. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, Julie. I am so happy to be here with you and contributing to your mission.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We have the same ladies that we're trying to serve. And so I think they need to know what all is available to them. Okay, so the most important part about your business, talk to me a little bit about your past and how you came into realizing that this is your true calling.
Oh, thank you. Yes, my past. It all began 31 years ago. I was married to what is now known as a covert narcissist. Nobody knew that back then. He was an alcoholic as well, and bless him, we were both just doing our best. And after 13 years and 2 children, the writing was on the wall. I had to leave. I had to leave. I had gotten the resources I needed at the time to enable me to do that, and stepped out as a single mom with, I didn't have the finances in place or that sort of thing to do it. And I managed. And it was, my family had sort of fallen apart. I told my family I was leaving my husband. 3 weeks later, my second youngest brother told me he was leaving his wife. And then 3 weeks later, my father told me he was leaving my mother and was telling her on Boxing Day so that I could be there for her while I was visiting at Christmas.
Oh
And
my
so
goodness.
you can imagine the overwhelm. And that brother ended up taking his life just over a year later. So, you know, we were in crisis.
Mm.
And I was on the beach a year and a half later with my friend, and we were going to go picking oysters. I was living on Vancouver Island, and I didn't have my kids with me, so I was like, I want to get out in nature, that they would love it too. But there we were, and the tide was too high. So she was doing kinesiology on me, and she's doing this muscle testing, and I'm laying on the beach, and she kept saying different names. She's clearing stuff. It's your aunt, it's your father, it's your whatever. And then she said, it's your brother. And she said, he's here. And I said, I know, because I was laying there on the beach, and all of a sudden there was this huge ball of white light hovering above my chest. And it was the most intense love I had ever felt. It was unbelievable. And I knew it was my brother's spirit. And I couldn't interrupt her because she was saying so much. And she said, he's here. And I don't think she even knew that I had a deceased brother. And she had never channeled anybody. She was a very spiritual person.
Uh-huh.
And he spoke to me through her. And the long and the short of it was, he told me to start meditating.
Oh, okay.
So I started meditating, and that's when everything began. I had not been I was raised Catholic. I went to church. I had all my sacraments, got married in a Catholic church, but I had stopped going to church.
Mm-hmm.
And and yet I absolutely believed in God
Oh,
beyond the shadow of a doubt. And so uh, I ended up meditating. And what happened during that time, I started to heal myself and I started to really tap into my subconscious. And I started developing a method then that I use today that I didn't recognize then. Because
okay.
people would say, well, I meditate, I don't do all that healing. And I'd be like, well, I don't know. This stuff just comes up, these fragmented memories, physical sensations, all this stuff would happen and I would heal. And we'll talk a little later on, but what I was doing differently was I was breathing with a full breath because growing up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, the winters are very cold. And I
Ooh,
used to get so cold at times, I would be shivering and tense, and it seemed like I would get colder and colder. And when I was about 7 years old, I think, I was walking to my friends and I was so cold and I was scared my lungs would freeze because my mother always said, don't breathe through your mouth because your lungs freeze and you can die. So I
no,
was
wait, is that true?
uh,
Because I live in Florida for a reason.
in extreme situations, yes, your lungs can freeze. There
Wow.
have been
Okay.
cases of people's, so you don't want to breathe the cold air into your lungs, and I think you'd have to do it for a long time.
Oh, I would
Um,
imagine. Yeah.
so
Wow.
anyway, so I had this fear and I started breathing long breaths through my nose. And then I would notice that my body would relax and I would stop shivering if I kept breathing like that.
Hmm.
So somehow, after all those years of breathing that way, my system went to that in meditation. And I'll explain a little bit more about how that's to me, the number one thing to do if you're healing yourself.
Okay. So when you got the message that you need to meditate, how did you know how to start?
Oh, I didn't. So
Okay.
I I got back to the city. It was a long weekend and I opened the yellow pages, which is what we used to do 31
Oh, yeah.
years ago.
I remember those.
Right? I opened the yellow pages and it's hilarious because I started phoning these meditation places and they all asked me, why do you want to meditate? And I
Hmm.
thought it was so I could continue to communicate with my deceased brother. So I'd tell them that and they would say, I'm sorry, we don't have that type of
Oh.
meditation. And so I was very confused. And then I had an appointment in this building and I'm walking down the hall in this building and there was a sign on a door, meditation classes starting, and it was the next evening after work and it was right by where I worked. And I went,
Perfect.
oh, I'm going to go to that. I'm not going to say anything about my brother. And so I went and I think it was a 6 week or 2 month course, something like that, in this group, and taught me the basics of meditation. But the instructor always said, you just breathe normally and talked about the breath, but it was always normal breathing. And after a while, when I started to do it at home, I couldn't help but go into the full breath like I used to when I was a kid.
You were healing yourself at 7, it sounds like.
I never thought of that, Julie.
Yeah. So well, to me, it sounds like, you're relieving that tension even when you were 7, and it just kind of kept with you. Maybe that's, why you fell into it later as well for other people, because you're meant to
That's
do
a
it.
That's a great insight. Do you know how much I've told that story? And nobody's ever said that. And when you tell me that,
Mhm,
I feel the truth in it. I feel the
mhm.
truth.
Well, the fact that you can remember that moment, you know, a lot of times what I find, and I'm just talking for myself because I don't know anything about your world, the whole spiritual stuff. Um, I believe in God and I'm a spiritual person, but that's kind of the extent of my practice of anything. But the things that I remember, and they are very few, I have to say, I had a fairly traumatic childhood as well. The things that I remember, though, are the things that I find come up consistently for me, and that
Mm.
helps me um, accept that, yes, because this is a part of me and it's so natural, it must be part of what I'm to do in the world. It's just my little way of thinking about it.
And that makes so much sense. It makes so much sense because even as a child, I used to play teacher. I love to play teacher,
Oh,
teacher.
did I? Oh, yeah.
And I was guided later on when I had this huge download at the end of a personal retreat by myself, for myself. I got this download that I was a spiritual teacher and I had a meltdown. I was like, are you kidding me? You know, the imposter syndrome came up.
Oh,
Um,
I bet.
and yet there was so much truth in that. And when I would learn a new skill and something was really working for me, I automatically wanted to teach it to others. I wanted to share it. And so that was always sort of there in the background.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you started, when did you decide that this was going to be part of a profession for you, your spiritual healing?
I made that decision, I don't know, about 25 years ago, would have been, yes, in 2000. In 2000, um, I went back to school and I became an interior designer. And I
Okay.
thought, I'm going to start my own spiritual interior design business. So I'm going to provide interior design for my clients and I'm going to provide healing and empowerment because I called it Stelte Design, designing for the soul. And so it was helping these women or couples reflect into their homes who they truly are, who they truly are. And so I would have these meetings with them, and I used to practice shamanism. I would do soul retrievals, I would do power animal retrievals, I would do healings, I would do space clearing house blessings in their homes. I combined it all. And that was so fulfilling, so fulfilling. And what I realized through that business, it was when I hired my first coach. So important to have someone else there for you,
Oh,
right?
yes, yes.
And and this coach helped me see that my purpose in life was to empower women. Because what I had done, so I was a single mother.
Mhm.
And when you start your own interior design business, you're not bringing the money in right out of the gate. I'm
Right.
telling you. And back in those days, I built my whole business on word of mouth, you know, and so what I did, I would do color consultations, but was sort of your one shop stop. I would do painting, small projects, all interior, and I would sew custom drapes. I had always sewn. I bought a commercial sewing machine. I did custom slip covers and drapes and soft furnishings, all of that, and the spiritual thing. So it gave me enough money to live off of. And then I started hiring women to do these things. And I ended up with a 8-woman paint team. So I had a whole team of women that would go out and paint the interiors of homes and did it very professionally and everything. And I also had a workroom. So I taught women how to sew. And it was empowering women who didn't have a lot of skills to give them
Mhm.
something else that they could do and they could always do for the rest of their lives. And so that was very fulfilling, but I didn't know I would be where I am today. I never thought of myself as just doing the spiritual work full time.
And so when did that change?
That changed. It was gradual. It was gradual. And
Mhm.
so I ended up moving in that work through Stealth Design started to become not as fulfilling, but what also was happening was I was becoming more and more profitable. And there was a hidden wound in me of unworthiness around financial abundance. I
Okay.
couldn't
A lot of
handle
us have that. Yeah.
Couldn't handle all this potential money coming in. And so I ended up selling my business and traveling for 20 months around the world. And
Nice.
well, sure, it was nice. It was nice. I came back, I still did the business for a while, but I ended up, the long and the short of it was after I got the download that I was a spiritual teacher, I had to adapt to that. And I had such extreme imposter syndrome that I became ill. And I had to heal myself from
Mm-hmm.
that. Doctors weren't able to help me. Medicines, I just reacted. So I was on my own in my healing. And so I see now how all that served me. And so when I really stepped into doing that as, my thing to do, then the people just kept finding me and finding me and finding me. And then I was guided to write a book. And I had another just sort of a side job that paid extremely well. So if I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doing that well in my spiritual business, I could rely on that income. And I had my eldest brother working for me to help me with that. So I didn't take a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that was, probably, I can't read it, maybe a decade ago. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so what is your biggest core value that you have had as the red thread, as Marcus Buckingham says, it's the red thread, the thing that you love more than anything that has threaded itself through all of your stages of your career?
To help women find their authentic power. I
Mm-hmm.
felt powerless so much in my life, and I'm still on a journey of finding my authentic power. And what is that? And helping women heal the blocks that are getting in the way, heal the blocks that are preventing them from seeing who they truly are. And so that's my thread, is really empowerment, but authentic empowerment. And that goes into what is that exactly? And
Yeah.
it's really it's discovering your soul's purpose and expressing that in the greatest ways in the world. And purpose doesn't have to be a career. It can
Right.
be just being the greatest grandmother on the face of this earth, or it might be being an amazing community member. Whatever that is, to help women find their true calling and really stand in that and believe in themselves. And I just want to add to that. I've come to this point of, I don't believe in setting any goals, having any visions,
Uh-huh.
until we clear enough blocks that we can see clearly. Because
Right.
what happens is, if we have a lot of dissatisfaction with who we are in the world, or where we're at, or things not going our way, and we set goals, we're going to have the filter of our wounds. We're going to have the filter of our blocks getting in the way. And so we can't set the goal high enough. We can't set the bar high enough. And so we're doing ourselves a disservice. So I love to help women stay in the not knowing, clear the blocks, and then let it be born from you.
Yeah, more organic calling, and being drawn to, as opposed to searching around in the dark to find, oh, what is my purpose?
Right.
All I I don't know that I have ever actually found a single purpose. You know, I think a lot of people, when you say purpose, think it's got to be something really huge, really big, or you have to become famous for it, or it makes this impact that resounds around the world. And I think, like you were just saying about being the best community member or being the best grandmother, when you allow or things to organically appear in your life and you're drawn to them from your center, when you feel that that zing, I call it the zing. When you feel that zing, that's an indication that you're on the right track, in my opinion. But if you, like you said, if you've got these blocks in front of you, how are you going to even know? You're going to
That's
doubt
right.
yourself.
That's right. And our greatest wounds
Mm,
are are the pathway to our greatest powers, to our superpowers.
right. And instead of going around them or trying to ignore them or trying to say that's not really a wound, we really do to become mature adults, walk through them,
That's right.
acknowledge them, and heal from them.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, so tell me a little bit about some examples of how you have helped people through finding these blocks, and what are some of your practices that you help them do to clear those blocks?
Okay. The first person that comes to mind is Ginny Trask, and she had developed her fifth business, seven-figure business, and she was miserable. She was
Mm,
exhausted all the time, completely depleted, no fulfillment happening, and she was miserable. And she knew she was meant for more. She knew there was something else, but she had no idea what that was. And so I worked with her, and it's intense work. It can be really intense, and you have to do
hmm.
your homework. You need to do meditations. If you're not going to meditate with me, then it's likely you're not in the right place.
Right.
She was willing to do the homework, and it's not a
Hmm.
lot of meditation. And she broke through her subconscious blocks like a trooper, and she shed a lot of tears. She really released a lot of blocks. And within not a lot of time, she completely changed careers. And she got the download that she was a spiritual leader and that she needed to be doing very, very different things, living differently in her life. And so she started another business, and she let that business go, and it was all gradual. It was a real
Hmm.
shift. She has since then done my Azarius energy healing program. She's certified. She's shifted things a little bit and developed her own method. She has a lot of clients. She's way into six figures again and really doing her work in the world. And she's just so satisfied, and is still now she's realized that she's part of that is to be a retreat guide and to take
Oh,
people on personal retreats, which I have done. I've done all the training, and so I support her in that and help her along with doing that. So it's just she's so fulfilled and still growing in that. And so I'd like to, so you guys, what are the methods? So I'd like to say the number one method, if I put it all in one package, but
hmm.
there's various branches, is what I call my ACE method, ACE. So if you remember an
Okay.
ACE,
Hmm.
spades in cards, it's, good luck. It's the excellent card. Um, so A is for access. You want to be able to access your subconscious blocks. How do you know what you need to clear unless you access it? We need to discover what
Right.
it is. C is for clear. So that's moving the energy, releasing that. And E is empowerment. So the first years that I did my own healing, I just did access and clear, access and clear, access and clear. I wasn't focused on the empowerment because I just felt so relieved. I felt so much better. And it was like I was just sort of open to whatever happened. And that's fine. But the problem is when we access and clear blocks, we're getting rid of stuck energy. So energy will flow again, but
Right.
we're reprogramming the subconscious is what you can do with the empowerment. So I would let whatever wants to come in sort of come in.
Uh-huh.
Whereas now it's, oh, no, no, we want the empowerment piece so we can reprogram the truth of our being into it. And that also comes from the self. I don't tell people who they truly are. So,
Right.
so do we have time for me to share a little bit about those three steps?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that.
Okay. So remember, I talked about breathing with long breaths. That's
Yes.
So I invite you, Julie, and all the listeners, if you're listening at home, put your hand on your lower abdomen wherever you're sitting and put your thumb at the level of your navel. And you want to
Okay.
breathe from this place with your lower belly. No sucking your gut in. Just let it relax.
Okay.
So So you inhale and you let your lower abdomen blow up like a balloon. And then you exhale and you squeeze the abdominal muscles until you expel all the air. And just nose breathing, nose breathing, nose breathing is ideal.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it's okay. It's okay. That's ideal unless you can't do it. And I won't get into the details of that. So why is that important? What's happening, Julie, right now when you're breathing that way is you've changed your brain function. So when we're talking and we're doing the breathing without thinking about it, it's automatic. We're using the brainstem, the back part of the brain, the medulla oblongata. As soon as we engage the abdominal muscles, poof, it changes the brain function to the frontal lobal brain. So then we're consciously breathing and
Mm-hmm.
we're using this part of the brain, which frees up the brainstem, the medulla oblongata, and that's where we get access to our subconscious. So we're actually, and it changes, it's the right brain is in charge of your subconscious. So we're gaining access to all that. Why is that important? Because we need to know how we're running, what subconscious beliefs and stuck emotions are running the show for us.
Right.
And trauma is imprinted in the right side of the brain through only fragmented memories, no linear memories. So many people are like,
Right.
I don't want to remember all that stuff from the past. It's way too much. No, I don't want to know. You don't have to have any memories. And if you do have memories, wounds, trauma, they're always fragmented. It's pieces.
Right.
People say, oh, I have this memory. I have no idea what it's about. I just have this little snippet. Well, that's because you're during trauma when we're hyper alert, we're
Yeah.
reactive,
The
nervous system
adrenaline.
is
Yeah.
on overdrive. We just remember pieces, but what also happens is emotions that we could not process are stored. They're in
Yes.
there. And I do chakra readings. I do a lot of chakra readings, and I'm able to see where your energy is flowing well, where all the light is, and where all the blocks are and what they're about. So I can actually see them. And it's one of the things I love, helping people understand where their blocks are and what they're about. And so that's the A is for access. What are the stuck emotions? And then what are the subconscious beliefs that are formed from those stuck emotions? So it
Right.
helps know what the emotion is. And we can also almost always go back to when did the pattern first begin. So let's say daddy left the house when you were 3 and never came back until you were 15. That's traumatic.
Yeah.
And if mom was so deep in her own pain, she wasn't able to be there emotionally for you, you're going to store all those emotions if you didn't have an emotional resource. So
Mm-hmm.
then you naturally create beliefs from a 3-year-old's mind. Well, I'm not good enough. I really don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't matter to any man. And then you get married and you're 20 years into the marriage and you're like, I've never mattered for this man. He
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
so that's sort of an example. But the idea is to ultimately heal, clear it in the past, and you get sort of a domino effect that goes forward that healed us all the way to the present. So A is for access. Use the full breath through meditation, eyes closed. I work with the chakras. You don't have to. And then clear is breathing through it. Use the breath to feel those emotions. Yes, it's not comfortable. Yes, you might bawl your eyes out, but it's temporary. Just think of it as moving
Right.
the energy, because you're going to feel those things when you're triggered anyway. And your body's going to be tense and you might be holding your breath. And all you're doing then is adding to the pattern that started. So to clear it, you need to just stay with the full breath so that you get
Mm-hmm.
it loose enough to keep the energy flowing, sort of like a clogged plumbing pipe. You can
Mm-hmm.
take a snake or something to sort of poke at it, and you loosen it up enough that then the water
Then it
takes
push.
all
Yeah.
the way. That's right. And then the E is for empowerment. And that's
Uh-huh.
when we reprogram the subconscious. So through the clearing, you can reparent yourself, But even the dissipation of the emotion, new, more uplifting emotions will naturally come in, okay, through the healing and new subconscious beliefs. This is not mindset work that someone says, oh, read these things. These are your
Oh, yeah.
mindset practices, because these come directly from you. Nobody
Yes.
else can give them to you. So the new emotions that come through might be a sense of freedom or joy or peace. And then
Mm-hmm.
you can ask yourself, what's my new subconscious belief around this? And the truth will come out. So then for lasting empowerment, for the next week or even two, you breathe your own personal mantras into your body and you reprogram the subconscious, so that when you go about your life and you're in
Mm-hmm.
different relationships, you just notice that you're different. And
Yeah.
so is it one and done? No.
No.
But we keep healing and empowering ourselves and moving. So whenever we take a giant step forward into empowerment, whatever kept us from doing it before will come up and we can heal it. And it becomes more or less a lifestyle. I teach people how to become their own energy workers, their own healing and empowerment experts.
That's excellent. Well, Cheryl, that is amazing. I have learned so much just from talking to you just today. And I would say to all of you guys listening, how, think about how those words were impacting you as you were hearing those examples, because there's truth in really opening your mind. If you've never thought about, chakra work, it doesn't really matter what you call it, but if working on your self-conscious, and people like Cheryl, and definitely Cheryl, know how to help you engage in all of this maybe new stuff for you in order to help you do that. It's just one more way to live a better and fuller life. Cheryl, I have three questions I always ask at the end. Okay. The first one is, if you could close your eyes just for a moment, and when I say the words wise woman, describe what appears in your mind's eye.
It's the divine feminine that is in all of us. And we all have within us the light of God. Yes, God is all out there, but God is in our hearts.
Mhm.
And the divine feminine, the wise woman, is in all of us. And it's actually God or the universe, the light of God flowing through us.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, my last two questions. Where do you like to roam?
Oh, the world. I have traveled, I have traveled extensively, and I currently do a lot of roaming in the mountains of Colorado. And
Nice. Yes.
I would like to get back to Europe. France is just a country I hope to visit again and again.
That
Feels like I
sounds,
have there. I am half French,
oh,
my ethnicity. Yeah.
there you go. So your inner French woman is calling you home.
Yeah.
Okay, and what makes you restless in a good way?
What makes me restless in a good way is getting my message out there that we are all powerful beyond belief, powerful beyond what we can currently imagine. And it's whatever I can do to get this message home into other women, mature women like you and I,
Hmm.
is what makes me restless.
Well, I can certainly empathize with that. Is my what makes me restless as well. So thank you, Cheryl, for appearing today. I really appreciate it. And folks, if you want to know all about Cheryl's books and her work, it will be in the show notes. So please take a look at that. And I hope that you take advantage of taking a look at your spiritual insides. Thank you, Cheryl.
Oh, thank you so much, Julie. This has just been wonderful.
Thanks. Julie Noonan here. Thank you so much for listening to Roaming with Restless Women. If you're a successful senior woman leader who would like to be on this program, please visit podcast.intuitivewisdomcoach.com. If you enjoyed this interview, please share this episode on social media and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they mean a lot to me, my team, and most importantly, my restless guests. As a special gift to you, our listeners, I offer a free one-on-one 15-minute breakthrough session. Bring a problem and experience how coaching works to see if it could be of value to you. Sign up for an available time on my website, intuitivewisdomcoach.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.